Standing in the wake of this train wreck, my heart is beating faster in my chest. This depression terrifies me. When I'm awake, it's like these thoughts, they paralyze me. I don't wanna feel like this. I don't wanna feel like this. Time stops, weightless and cold. Silence burns like fire while my fears unfold. There's panic. Tooth to my cheek, too hard to speak without you. Lungs drained of air, life feels unfair without you. Come back to me, don't leave me to dream about you, dream about you, dream about you. How can I breathe without you? How can I breathe without you? Without you. What is left to say when the sky falls? I'm staring at your ghost in the stars. There's not a day that I don't miss you. The feeling swelling overflow, it's like I see you, hear you. I don't wanna feel like this. Why do I still feel like this? Heart ripped out of my brain. I sit here talking to myself. I think I'm going insane. Tooth to my cheek, too hard to speak without you. Lungs drained of air, life feels unfair without you. Come back to me, don't leave me to dream about you, dream about you, dream about you. How can I breathe without you? How can I breathe without you? The only way to fix this, the only way to fix this pain inside. The only way to fix this is a deep breath in as you say
I kick ass for the Lord.
What about me?
I never loved him the way that I love you. Just drops the mic.
Bit me with his butt.
Can't see it from here.
What about the panty?
What about the panty? What's up, Butters? It gets me every time. I'm always giggling coming into this. But hey, happy Saturday to everybody here. I know we're doing this a little bit differently than we're used to, but we're always making changes here and accommodating. We want to be accommodating, especially for our guests and everything, as they're accommodating for me sometimes. So we just want to welcome everyone in. Thank you. This is a new shirt. This is vacation. I'm in vacation mode right now. I'm about ready to go on vacation soon and got a new shirt. So I wanted to show it off to everybody. But thank you, Steven, for complimenting me. Spencer had already complimented me. So I'm feeling pretty good right now.
You're Coastal Cody.
I am Coastal Cody. I like that. That's my DJ name, Coastal Cody, on the 5s and the 10s. Welcome into 52/1993, the movie conversation podcast about the year 1993. We take movies from the year 1993, starting from the beginning of the year and going all the way up to the end of the year, talking about 52 movies in order of their release dates. And usually the way this works is we've got some things we go over the movie a little bit, tell how we feel about it, talk about some different categories that we have, basically tell whether or not this is a good movie or not and that you should watch it. So we don't give a ton of details in this, but obviously it's been 30 years. So if you haven't seen the movie, that's tough luck. Go out and watch all these movies, please. And I'm always joined by a guest host. My host this week is Spencer. Welcome in, Spencer. How are you doing?
I'm good. How about yourself?
I'm on top of the world, man. Like, I'm doing great.
It's good to hear.
It is good to hear. I think it's because I have vacation coming up. So I think that's why I'm excited about things. So let's go ahead and get right into it and talk about this movie. And I'll give you the details. The movie this week was a movie called In the Line of Fire. It came out on July 9th, 2020, or not 2023. I'm off my game now. Came out July 9th, 1993. It was directed by Wolfgang Petersen, who is famous for movies like Das Boot, Neverending Story, Outbreak, Air Force One, Perfect Storm, Troy, to name a few. It was written by Jeff Maguire, and it has a pretty great cast of stars here. Clint Eastwood plays Frank Horrigan. John Malkovich is Mitch Leary. Renee Russo is Lily Raines. Dylan McDermott plays Al DeAndrea. Gary Cole plays Bill Watts. Fred Thompson, who ran for president once upon a time, played Harry Sargent. John Mahoney, who was Fraser's dad, played Sam Campagna. And then I've got some other names written down here just because they're familiar names. Tobin Bell in his second appearance this week in a very brief role. Josh Malina of West Wing fame is in this. John Hurd, who's the dad from Home Alone, is in this movie briefly. So just wanted to give them some extra love that they needed. The synopsis for this movie, I always copy and paste these, and so I never really read through them until I get to this point. So it's very exciting for me to read these synopsis. A Secret Service agent is taunted by calls from a would-be killer who has detailed information about the agent, including the fact that he failed to save President John F. Kennedy from assassination. The caller is revealed as an ex-CIA assassin, that's a spoiler, and the agent who is investigating a threat to the current president is determined not to let history repeat itself. This movie had a budget of $40 million and was a slam dunk at the box office. It made $187 million and comes in at number 7 this year in 1993 overall. This movie is also one of the highest rated movies we've seen this year. Rotten Tomatoes gave it a 96%, which is just insane to me. Not that this is a bad movie by any means, and I think we'll talk about it, but 96% is crazy. And then it has an IMDb rating, a little bit, probably not as good, 7.2 out of 10. And I've got really, I didn't want to. Both of these kind of have like good and bad in the review, so I'm going to read them both. The movie's climax is exciting, not only because of its action, but also because of its flawless logic. And then another thing, what's surprising is how much time the movie finds for small touches of realistic detail and emotion. That was Roger Ebert. He gave it 3.5 stars out of 4. And then here's another movie or review. Thought the movie is engrossing, it lacks something: fire, weirdness, and originality. Owen Gleiberman of Entertainment Weekly gave it a B. So it's not a bad review, but it said it was missing some things. So, and finally, before I wrap up and start talking to Spencer about all this, I always like to go over legacy, if it won any awards or if it went on to have any franchise or remakes or any career, this killed somebody's career or anything like that. This one actually got 3 Academy Award nominations. So, Best Supporting Actor for John Malkovich, Best Original Screenplay, and Best Editing. So, Spencer, we've watched In the Line of Fire. What's your initial thoughts on it? How'd you feel? Like, this is your watching it, right?
Yeah. So having heard that synopsis, I'm really glad I didn't read that because, like you said, huge spoiler in there. Like, I don't know why they did that. But yeah, I never read synopsis or watch a preview before I go into these most of the time because I like to be surprised, and I was very pleasantly surprised when I saw like JFK stuff pop up because I really like that stuff. Kind of intrigues me. I'm not a conspiracy theorist by any means, but seeing like some people's thought process behind some of that stuff and just like I don't know, the stuff surrounding it, the mystery, it's always been interesting to me, and to see that this movie had that touch in there was really good. And then I had forgotten that you had said John Malkovich was even in this, and then I saw his lips when they showed him on the phone. I was like, oh yeah, and I was really really excited because I'm a huge John Malkovich fan.
Yeah, and this is actually, I think I've seen bits and pieces of this movie, but this is the first time that I've actually sat down and really watched this movie. I think the only thing I knew about it was Clint Eastwood was in it as an old man, and I knew it was a Secret Service movie.
Yeah,
That's
if you
it.
would have, see, I think I only knew it was like Clint Eastwood, and then I knew it was something about Secret Service or president, and I was like, another presidential movie is like, what's this gonna be? But it ended up being a lot better than I was expecting.
Yeah, I think I can agree with that. It was definitely better than I expected going in. There were some times when I was like looking or watching this movie with 2023 eyes, and I was like, ooh, this comes off a little like what was cool in 1993 is like super misogynist and like
Yes.
super toxic now. But I was like, yeah, I get where dads would really like this movie. This is like an ultimate dad movie.
Dude, you're 100% right. Like all dads would probably gush over this movie.
I think last week's The Firm is another in that category of like, this is a dad movie.
Yep. I can stand by that.
Yeah. Anything else you want to say about this movie? Anything that really stuck out or?
No, I think we'll get into it when we start answering questions.
Okay, sounds good. All right, let's get into it. We've got some categories to break into here, including our first one, which is the best scene, which is usually just about 4 or 5 scenes that really make the movie that if somebody referenced this movie, you'd be like, in the Line of Fire. I know that movie. So I've got 4 written down here, and I'm sure you've got what you said you had like 3 or
yeah,
so?
I've got 3. I bet one of ours is the same, but probably just one. So you can go ahead.
Okay, so the first one I have is the opening scene with the counterfeiters and the like hostage situation there. Well, it doesn't turn out to be a hostage situation at first. So we're introduced to Clint Eastwood and Dylan McDermott, and they are we don't know anything at this point. They're doing some shady shit on a boat
with Tobin Bell.
With Tobin Bell, classic Tobin Bell villain coming in here. And they're running a counterfeit operation, and they all of a sudden take Dylan McDermott hostage because they're like, this guy's Secret Service, so we want you to kill him. We trust you. You kill him, and we'll definitely trust you even more. And so Clint Eastwood pulls the trigger on him, which is not what I was expecting when I first got into this movie. Pulls the trigger on Dylan McDermott. It's not loaded, but they're like, oh, okay, we trust this guy. And then they bag Dylan McDermott, and as they're killing Dylan McDermott, it is revealed that Clint Eastwood is a Secret Service agent, and he shoots all the other guys. And it's kind of a turn / badass moment. And we also get a setup for Dylan McDermott's character Al for the rest of the movie, in some other places. So I don't know. I really like this scene. I thought that that was, I mean, it was kind of like if you've ever seen Clint Eastwood movies before, I don't know, that if any of his Westerns or his Dirty Harry movies or anything like that, like he's just like, I don't care. I'm going to do what I need to do to get out of this situation. And it's kind of badass to me, in my opinion. And then he pulls out that freaking revolver. And I was like, that's a Dirty Harry move.
I thought
right
the
there.
same thing. I thought the exact same thing. Anytime there was a gun, most of the time it was like the Secret Service, like 9mm type stuff.
Mhm.
But there was that one time he had the revolver, and I thought the exact same thing.
Well, I read somewhere when I was, doing some research and stuff that the movie that I'm playing behind my shoulder right here is Unforgiven, which came out, I believe, the year ahead of this in 92, which Clint Eastwood said, he said that Unforgiven was like his death of Westerns. Like, here is the death of my career in Westerns. Like, I'm killing it off. And a lot of people also said that this was his death of Dirty Harry, the Dirty Harry character. Like, he's killing him off. I'm not doing these anymore. And this was his kind of like ode to that a little bit. And I was like, I could see it more. Obviously, he had more creative control with Unforgiven. He directed that movie. But he was essentially in kind of control of this movie. I mean, he got to select who directed this.
Yeah, I wrote that down as one of my fun facts, because that's pretty wild to hear. Usually it's the other way around.
Yeah, I think like there's only a few people in Hollywood that have that kind of power. And 93, I guess Clint Eastwood had that kind of power. I bet Schwarzenegger probably had some of that at this time too. And not Tom Cruise probably didn't have it quite yet, but Tom Cruise has it now, where he just says, I'm going to do this and you're going to pay for it and you're going to like it. So, yeah. Anything else from this scene or?
No, not from that scene. I don't
No,
have
it's
anything.
just a badass scene. And he totally puts his partner's life at risk, and he was going to shoot his partner in the head. But and then he was like, you could tell that the gun was not loaded, right? Cared at all. He's just like, whatever. I'm gonna kill this guy. I don't know. He's badass. I think you probably have one in between the opening scene and the next scene I have, so I'll let you go with one of yours.
Nope, I don't. Most of mine are toward
How do you even know?
the end.
Okay, I'll take it. The next scene I had was the Chicago campaign event. That was the next scene I had, where Frank we're set up in the movie. Frank is protecting this president, and we get introduced to an assassin who's trying to kill this president. And he's called Frank a couple times, I think, at this point. But this is at a Chicago campaign rally, and Frank is like sick as a dog at this thing. And so he's a little bit more paranoid. I think he has the flu or something. It's like the Jordan flu game, except he's not doing as good in Chicago as Jordan. And this is when Booth, or we get to know his name is Mitch Leary, is in the crowd. He knows he's there, and he pops a balloon to mimic a shot from a gun. And Frank freaks out and tackles the president, says gun, and it ends up being a false alarm. But we can just this is the kind of middle of the movie moment where Booth / Leary is just messing with Frank, just kind of showing you the ends that he will go to mess with Frank and get to him about like his past and being a Secret Service agent and protecting the president, and willing to, are you willing to take a bullet for it? I think he says that a couple times during, are you willing to die for this guy who's, not even that special, not anything that is going to change the world by any means. So I thought that was a really good one. And it kind of that's the kind of point in the movie where they're like, hand in your gun and your badge kind of moment in a cop movie, because they're like, you're off the case. So did you have this one written down?
No, I didn't. But I guess I'll go ahead and jump. Two of mine are kind of wrapped into one, I guess. So I really enjoyed this. First thing I'm going to talk about wasn't particularly a scene, but there's a scene going into kind of what this is about. So I really enjoyed like the makeshift gun that they showed Leary making, because it was like super cool, and I've seen videos of people like 3D printing their own weapons and stuff like that before. So it was really cool to see like all the mechanics of it and stuff. And so that kind of rolls into the scene that I'm going to talk about with the hunters as they approach him when he's
Yeah.
shooting that. He's practicing shooting the makeshift gun at a boat, or at a toy boat. And then the hunters come over and they were like, "Is that you shooting?" And then he was like, "Yeah." And they were like, "Oh, let me see that." And they were, checking it out and stuff. And he said, "Let me give it a try." So he loads it for him and he hands it to him. The guy shoots into a flock of ducks. I guess they're called a flock. I don't really know. Um, and so then he gives it back. He's like, "Yeah, that's cool, man." And he was like, "Why'd you shoot that duck?" And he was like, I don't know." And then he just blasts them both with it. I was like, "Damn,
Just blast them.
I
Yeah.
guess cold."
I had that down as a quote. Why'd you kill that bird, asshole?
Yeah, exactly.
Just pop, pop. No, that was that gun is so interesting to me and scary to me at the same time, because I do know that people have 3D printed their own guns and making stuff out of plastic and or composite or whatever it is that can get through these metal detectors. Very scary to me. Surely these people are on a watch list, right?
You would think so. The same people have the
I
anarchist
hope
cookbook.
so. Oh my gosh, like that. Yeah, that's all this movie did was just scare the crap out of me with things that could happen. And I was just like, I don't like this. Very January 6th stuff,
Yeah,
man.
well,
Like,
yeah.
I don't love this stuff. Sorry if I'm isolating anybody, but whatever. But no, yeah, that scene's good. And when he's creating it, yeah, it's good. Yeah, it's just super scary. I don't know. I think the next scene I had is it's kind of two scenes in one, but it happens like bam bam. So Frank gets a call from Booth, and it's like the most heated phone call out of all of their interactions, because at this point Frank knows that Booth is actually this ex-CIA agent, assassin named Mitch Leary. He knows a lot about him, that he killed his best friend, and like he just starts unleashing this stuff on Leary, and Leary is getting pissed off, and it's causing him to be on the phone a little bit longer than he should be, which leads to him getting traced and them showing up to his apartment in DC. And then it also leads to that rooftop scene.
That's the one I have.
The rooftop chase scene. Yeah. And that is the scene. I've got that a couple times in some of the other categories here, but that ends up leading to his partner's death, and a very climactic scene. I just think that's like, it even has the scene, old man Clint Eastwood is hanging off of a building, and like Booth tries to help him there. Booth saves him, essentially. He's like, "Give me your hand, I'm gonna save your life," kind of thing. And I love it. There's Clint Eastwood just takes the gun and puts it and he like Malkovich puts the gun in his mouth because he's a freaking
Dude,
madman.
that was so genius of
And
Malkovich to do that, because that's what I had that scene for, and then later on I've got it as some other stuff, but like him doing that just sold
yeah.
it so well. Like apparently that was improvised too, but it's just genius because
Mhm.
it's definitely a character that would do that, something like that.
Yes. Yeah, he was like, whatever. I know, he just testing him and being like, you're not going to do this. You understand what I'm doing a little bit, like trying to relate to Frank in that moment. And then, oh God, that scene where Al he's swung, Booth has swung Clint Eastwood over to the fire escape, and then Al comes up and he's like, "I got him, Frank, I got him." And what we know about this assassin is that that's what he's like, the best assassin in the world. They basically have a rabid dog on the loose kind of thing, and just pow pow pow, 3 shots to the dude's 1. And Leary just kills Dylan McDermott's Al in this. And oh my god, that's a good scene. That was a better like, I kind of thought, I had thought about that scene and ruminated on that a little bit, like where I was like, is this cheesy? Is this a cheesy scene? And then I thought about it, I was like, no, God, that last final shot was enough for me to be like, no, this is freaking harsh.
Yeah, I thought it was
So-
gonna be cheesy because you did have him hanging off the ledge, like that classic movie trope, hanging off the ledge. The bad guy's gonna help him out, and then they're gonna relate a little bit. And I was like, it's gonna be cheesy. So, and then he swung him over to the fire escape and shot his partner. I was like, well, when he put the gun in his mouth, I was like, this is not the normal, your normal scene.
Yeah.
But yeah, and then all that happened. I was like, okay, they did a really good job at turning that from kind of your classic villain saving hero to just an out of nowhere turn.
Yeah. I also like the scene too because of the and Ebert, I think, kind of talks about this, but like the realism in this, like if we see these chase scenes, we've seen it on rooftops before, all this stuff. We'll see, Tom Cruise running his freaking head off. But this is a scene between a like 60-plus-year-old man running on top of, and Clint Eastwood's in good shape. I'll give him that. But like, you could tell, like it's a slow chase scene, and like these are normal human beings that are running on the top here and making these jumps and everything. And I really like that. And I'll get to another part about this scene in a later category. But
glad they didn't make the jump like 50 feet long. Like they made it a realistic distance.
Yeah, it was absurd. That last jump though, I was like, because they both barely make it.
Even then, I thought like they should have made it even a little better than that. But I think it's just because I'm used to kind of those unrealistic, super far, 30-foot jumps that somebody's doing. But yeah, I mean, it makes sense.
Yeah. So that was the third scene I had, and then the final scene I had was the ending banquet scene that leads to the Booth, being at his table, getting ready to assassinate the president, and Frank discovering that Booth was there and he's under a fake name and all this stuff, and essentially jumps in front of the president. That was me jumping in front of the president, just in case you didn't know from my actions on screen.
Imagine you had like,
and then the shootout in the elevator.
You had squibs ready to go during that moment.
Oh my god, that'd be awesome. Next time on 52/1993 Squibs. I'll do that one time. I'll have blood.
It might scare me. I don't know. I might not be ready for it.
I'll probably get banned, honestly. I'll probably get banned for something like that, definitely. No, this scene, I thought this was a good ending, like finishing scene for this movie. Kind of I really like the elevator scene where Leary takes Frank hostage after he's gotten shot, and they have him surrounded. I do think that I've read this a couple times and I kind of agree with it, where the trope of the villain always going to a high place, like instead of having an out to like run away or have another plan for they always go to the top of the building. Like they're always doing that kind of thing. And a little bit of me is upset with that in this, only because I think Malkovich's version of that character is so smart and would know I need to get out of here in some ways, would have backup plans. But obviously we need to finish the movie too. So, and it's got to end on a somewhat happy
I'll
note.
play devil's advocate on that a little bit. I think that while he is super smart, I think he also is the type of character that understands how it's going to end. Like he's going to end it on his terms. He knows that he's probably not living after this because it's either go to jail for, a lifetime or, like I said, take himself out on his terms. And I feel like that was probably the end play here, especially when you get that last voicemail he left. I think it sounded like that could have been kind of, he knew, that it was the end for
He
everybody.
knew he was out. Yeah, I agree. I agree with that. That he knew, but I still felt like he went through all this trouble and everything. He was at least going to get that president as much as possible. Like, no matter what. I mean, to only have a 2-shot at the guy, I don't know. But one thing I'll find hilarious about this scene, and I laughed, was them getting the president out of there. It almost looked like it was sped up. Like they were like, skirt, like, let's get him out of here kind of thing. You never see that president ever again. It just felt like that was slapsticky and they were getting him out of there. But I bet that's kind of how it goes.
Yeah, you gotta
Get him out of there as soon as possible.
Just get him out the situation.
So yeah, that played a little slapsticky to me, but I think this is a good scene, especially with him jumping in front and then him having the bulletproof vest and everything. I love that. So what else you got?
That's all for the scenes.
That's it. All right, we nailed it. That's the whole movie.
That was.
If anybody in chat has seen it and has something else that they want to talk, a scene that really stuck out there, it's the makeout scene in the elevator with Rene Russo and Clint Eastwood, which is one of the most disgusting kisses I've ever seen in a movie.
I didn't even pay that much attention to it, I guess.
Rene Russo's, she's a babe, but like, and she's kissing somebody that is, 30 years her senior, 20 years her senior, or whatever. I'm not even mad about that, but like Clint Eastwood can't kiss. I'm gonna say it.
I mean,
it's
I don't
gross. I wish I could show you video and like a slow-mo and like I could like John Madden circle areas where it's the grossest. There's like old man tongue in there. I don't like it. I'm out.
Oh no.
But it leads to a sex scene, which is pretty great.
Well,
not great. It's not a sex scene. It's just kind of the build up to something, which I think is also very funny.
It was
they're dropping off all their clothes.
I did laugh at that, like all of their weapons falling on the ground.
It seemed like a Hot Shots moment.
Yeah, I could see that.
I was expecting like a bazooka to drop and then like a mace and all this other stuff to drop on the ground. I just thought that was funny, especially after we'd watched Hot Shots this previously. So, all right, next category. I think we'll probably have same things on here, but maybe not. Favorite character or scene stealer? I wrote down 2.
Yeah, I've just got one. I think it's probably obvious with who I really enjoy watching, and that's John Malkovich as Mitch Leary. But like I said, I love John Malkovich and like anything he does. So of course I'm gonna pick him. I would understand if you picked Renee, but yeah, I think like you preface this movie saying it was I don't know if you did it intentionally. You said like it's a Clint Eastwood movie, blah, blah, blah. I think this is a John Malkovich movie to me.
It really is. And obviously that's who I put down too is Malkovich. Like I've seen some good Malkovich characters, but this one, I mean, it's pretty great.
He crushes it. And then at one point he's dressed up like Switchblade Sam, so
we'll get to that. We'll get to that. No, the only other person I had on this, and this was a scene I think maybe a scene stealer kind of thing. I like Dylan McDermott. He's kind of a, he's okay in most things that I've ever seen him in. He's just a familiar face. But the scene where he breaks down in the car, I think he did a really good job in that scene where he's like, this man has been put through the ringer. He does not want to do. He almost died on that boat, and like this, the thought of having to do this day in and day out, and it really gets to him. And I think that scene where he is just breaking down, and then I also have it like that breakdown scene, because then Clint Eastwood like convinces him to kind of like throw some dirt on it and suck it up. That's kind of where that old mentality comes in, and then it leads to the next thing, which is the chase scene. And then we see how excited he is that he's like, I got him, Frank. I got him. And then next thing we know, he's
Yeah. You bring up a really good point because usually he just kind of plays like this macho kind of, just kind of
Mhm.
a guy's guy. But yeah, him showing emotion in that car scene, that's a good call. That was a good scene.
the only thing I hated about it was, and I mean, I think it leads to more of Frank feeling guilty later, is that he got this guy killed by he was ready to retire the next day, and Frank was like, "You're not going to do that. Get it, suck it up," kind of thing. And a 2023 version of this probably doesn't have that in there. It's probably a little bit more forgiving of somebody like that, but it does lead to a little bit more guilt or blood that's on Frank's hands. So that's the only one. But no, Malkovich is incredible in this. He's got some speeches on the phone calls that I think are some of the best stuff in this movie, really. Or oh man, we didn't talk about this scene, but like Malkovich in the bank with the bank lady.
Oh yeah, that's right. Okay, because I kind of bring that up later here in a minute. I'll bring up a little bit.
Mhm.
I don't have it particularly in the bank, but yeah, that was a really good scene. And now that we're talking so much about John Malkovich, I'm wondering if he's maybe like I don't know if I've ever considered it, but I wonder if he's one of my favorite actors because I feel like he just kills everything he's in.
Yeah. If you haven't watched some of his like just it's straight up acting stuff, but like more play driven stuff, like Glass Menagerie. They filmed a version of that Tennessee Williams play. He's incredible in stuff like that too. I love him in Rounders, even though it's a ridiculous villain character that he has in there. No, Malkovich is great. You're not wrong.
I may
He's
have to do,
incredible.
yeah, and that's what I was talking about too, Steven. I think that's what I always come back to is just how incredible being John Malkovich is. Just like that, I think that showcases everything you need to know about it.
Yeah, he's a good villain, but he one thing that I think about him is, like I said, like his play work, or I don't know if in high school you ever had to watch Of Mice and Men.
Mm.
He's really good in that, even though he's taking on a
But did he play?
person who's mentally disabled.
Did he play Stuart Little?
He did not play Stuart.
Oh, that's
Little,
just the
but Michael
mice,
J. Fox played Stuart.
not the men. Sorry.
I hate you. I hate everything that just happened. He's in Snatch. Am I forgetting him in Snatch? I feel like I don't know. I don't remember him in Snatch. Or maybe you're just confusing him with his Russian character in Rounders. I don't know. Somebody in chat said that. So, yeah, let's talk about him a little bit further. But let's go to our favorite quotes from this movie. We've already mentioned one, which is "Why did you kill that bird, asshole?" I like that one. Give me your quotes.
So I've got you had kind of brought up because he'd mentioned it a couple times during the movie. But I've got one in particular that I really enjoyed. Just because it's classic. It's classic Clint Eastwood. Leary says, "Do you have what it takes to take a bullet, or is life too precious?" And Frank says, "Well, I'll be thinking about that when I'm pissing on your grave." And I was like, "Yeah, that's Clint Eastwood." And
That's a
then
good one.
another one between those two, and it's on the roof scene, was Leary saying, "Do you want to save me, Frank?" And Frank said, or no, it was them when he's taken hostage. He says, "Do you want to save me, Frank?" And Frank says, "To be frank and honest with you, no, but it's my job." I think that's where that happened. I can't really remember. Okay.
Yeah, it is, but it's my job. Yeah.
And then the last
Uh,
one is again between them two. It's Leary saying, "Come on, Frank, I'll keep you in the game, but I'm not going to throw it for you." I was like,
I love that line. I'll
that
keep you
hit
in the
me,
game, but I'm not going to throw it for you. Is such a good line.
dude.
I want to use that in real life.
I feel like that really showed like how crazy he was, and just I don't know how he thought through everything. It just I don't know that that line was just it just really stuck.
I'm surprised you didn't have this line down. I forget what O'Leary says before this. He says we have a rendezvous, and Frank says you have a rendezvous with my ass, motherfucker. And I think that's the funniest line ever.
I did laugh.
With my ass. I
I'm
was like, I don't know if he knows what he just said.
I'm surprised that I didn't put that either. Kind of reminds me of
I'm gonna
somebody at work, and you know what I'm talking about, and the saying that they
Yeah.
have.
Oh my gosh, yes, so much. So you have a rendezvous with my ass. That goes up my ass. I think of it from a movie called Run Ronnie Run, which is based on a Mr. Show sketch. It's David Cross, and he's getting ready to fight. It's like a Joe Dirt ripoff kind of thing, but he says, "My face, your ass," and I think it's what a great line. That's what it reminded me of.
Is
Another
David
couple
Cross,
quotes I've got.
is that just his thing? Because him in Arrested
Yes.
Development, I swear.
Yeah, that's it. It's just Mr. Show and Arrested Development. I like this line from Mitch. This is probably my second favorite line, other than the one that you said about I'll keep you in the game, but I'm not gonna throw it for you. Frank says, "Well, if none of this means anything, why kill the president?" And Mitch says, "To punctuate the dreariness." I love that line. That's just kind of like, why not? It just goes to show like more of how depraved or this guy is, and how just sick he is, and sick and tired of the government and all this other stuff. It's a good line. Two more lines I have, both Frank lines. He's hooking up with, or he's looking up Lily up and down. He was like, "I was just wondering where you hide your firearm. Don't tell me, let me guess." And I'm like, woof.
Dude,
But such a funny
hated that
old
line.
man.
Nah.
Such a funny, perverted old man line from 1993. You know, guys loved that line. Like my dad
Oh,
loved
I'm
that
sure.
line when in
Yeah.
1993.
No, well, not nowadays though. You talk about looking at it through the 2023 lens. I feel like now people be like, "Wolf."
Yeah, just like you. And I'm going back to the 1993 lens. I was just like rolling my eyes, but she like rolls her eyes through at 90% of everything that he says. She constantly says, "You're annoyed by me," and then they hook up, and I'm like, whatever. I don't know if that would happen. And then after they don't have sex, he says, "Lily, damn, now I got to put all this shit back on." God damn it. He's so mad.
That one was funny because it like really shows his
Yeah.
age.
Yes. Now I got to put all this shit back on. God damn it. I love that. Any other quotes that we're missing here?
Nope.
Okay, cool. Let's go with the biggest laugh, cry, scare, thrill.
I've already said it. But it was the biggest, I guess, thrill, and it was where Leary put the gun in his mouth. Well, he didn't even put the gun. Like he
Yeah.
put his mouth around the gun, and still with that being improvised, like kudos to Malkovich because that was really good.
Yeah, that's a good moment. Same scene. I just put when Al is killed. It kind of a scare thrill kind of thing in there. Just change the game a little bit to it. So
Yeah.
I thought that moment really brought in there. What the F / ridiculous moment of the movie?
I think it's when, and because it just, I don't know, it caught me off guard. I guess A, them showing it, and B, the force that Leary did it with. But when he snaps the lady's necks, I was like, "Oh my god,
gosh, I forgot about that. Just both of them. Just
yeah." I was like, "Oh, that just happened."
Yeah. I put Clint Eastwood and Rene Russo's relationship.
Yeah, you know what? Fair enough. Absolutely fair enough. I think I've got a little bit about that later, but yeah, that's a big WTF. Yeah.
Favorite thing in the entire world.
I think yeah.
Are you back?
Yeah.
There we go. I can hear him. There we go. I love when it does that.
It could
Technical
be neat.
difficulties. So I don't know if you. No, it's not. It's not. Trying to think what I said.
Yeah.
Their relationship is what I put. It's gross.
Mm-hmm.
He says something about secretaries,
Oh yeah.
and then he tries to play it off like he's joking. He's like, "Oh, the secretaries in this place are getting prettier," and he's like, "She's not a secretary, Frank. She's a agent." And he's like, "I know that. I'm just messing around." I'm
No,
like,
no, you didn't know
were you
that.
just messing around? You old. And I did put down that I thought Leary's plan kind of petered out at the end, but you talked me back off the ledge of that.
Good.
So thanks. All right, let's go into the next category then. We're going to talk about the best music moment in the movie. At first I didn't have anything for this. But I decided to, after doing a little bit more research, that I was going to talk about the Ennio Morricone soundtrack of this. Ennio Morricone is a famous score composer, known for a lot of the old westerns that Clint Eastwood was in. I think he's the guy that did the that part, all that stuff. I think he's responsible for all that. And I listened to this a couple times. Like, there's something about that rooftop scene, because of how like slow the chase is and everything, and it's just a lot of like repetitive running, jumping over everything. But there's something like very unsettling in the music that is played behind that. It's almost like a cowbell noise, but there's something, it's weird. It's not a cowbell. I can't tell you what instrument it is, but I think that's probably the best music moment that I put in the movie.
You must have listened a lot deeper than I did, because I really don't recall a ton of great music moments for me personally, but I clearly wasn't listening as close as you were. I would say just like, I do remember like the suspenseful music in general, I thought was pretty on point, but other than that, I don't remember just a ton of it.
Yeah, I agree with you though. I was, listening very intently to try and be like, or trying to think back and to those scenes. And then I was like, oh, this is soundtrack, or who did the soundtrack for it. And I was like, I need to, pay attention a little bit more, but I do remember the music specifically from that scene. And that's the only thing I really picked out. So. All right. Let's move on to if you don't have anything else, I'm going to move on to the next category, which is the most dateable or fuck, marry, kill, with 3 different characters. I didn't do a most dateable because I don't think anybody's dateable in this movie, honestly. But this is my fuck, marry, kill for you. Renee is, but like if is most dateable just always going to be the hottest girl in the movie? Probably. So we're just giving her flowers at that point. Renee, you're great. We love you. Here's your flowers. For F, marry, kill, I am pretty proud of this. I want you to do Mitch as he looks, Mitch in the red hair wig and the hillbilly teeth, and Mitch in the glasses and the nice hair wig. So Mitch in all iterations of his disguises.
Dude, this is a really good one. Because I had it already prepared for, and I'll just tell you what I put too. I had already had it prepared for effing Al marrying Mitch and killing Frank. But now you've just dropped this bomb on me. Oh,
I knew we were going to talk about Malkovich a lot and how great he is in this, so I figured I'd give you 3 Malkoviches to choose from.
This is a really good one, and I think I'm going to go ahead and kill, long-haired, goofy, Switchblade Sam looking, because just the way he runs drives me insane. Let's see.
He's doing that. He's like, he's just doing this like stutter thing.
I think I'm going to. He was pretty handsome in the glasses, so I think I'm gonna F
I'm
that and then marry as he is. It's not, the greatest outcome, but he's got something to offer, right? He's got a lot of expertise and knowledge, and
th- that long hair red wig is one of the worst things I've ever seen because it's not good. It is like he picked it up in a joke shop, like down the street. And he is just, I don't know what he's acting like, or like he's like I don't know, he's messed up in the head or something at that point. But yeah,
I've got a video to show
it's
you
wild.
that reminds me of how he runs, and I'll show it to you later.
It reminds me when he is just like standing there across the street doing his like little twitch thing or whatever. It reminds me of going back to Arrested Development of when Buster doesn't have his glasses on at the party and Lucille too thinks that he's hitting on him. So that's what it reminds me of. But yeah, I think I agree with you on your choices. But I wanted to just I thought maybe he had another disguise that I missed, but it was only those three. He's a wet boy.
He's a wet boy. I forgot about that.
We learned what a wet boy is in this movie, so you're welcome.
God.
Oh, okay. All right, let's move on to the next one. Best
Yeah,
performance. I
obvious
think it's pretty
Malkovich,
obvious.
yeah.
Yeah, Malkovich just kind of steals the show in this whole movie. That's why he gets nominated. And I think he takes a very simple character that could have been in any action movie from this time and really transforms it and makes it his own. I think it's definitely a highlight from this. So I think we're good on that. So let's go ahead and move on from performance. Unless you want to say something else about his performance, you're more than welcome to. But let's go ahead and move on to a recast. We can either do a 1993 recast or a 2023 recast or both, choosing the lead characters only. I only did a 2023 recast. I've been a little bit lazy on the 1993 part of this, but I think I've got some good ones here. But I'll go ahead and let you get
I was going
started
to say,
with
yeah,
yours.
you're definitely going to have to lead me on to these questions. We got that little delay, so it's going to kill us if we don't. So I did for 1990, well, for both of them, I did Frank, Mitch, and I did Lily too. I didn't know if you did or not, but I figured if you did, we might have the same 2023. But in 1993 for Frank, I went with Danny Glover. And then for Mitch, I went if I had to I wouldn't recast Malkovich, honestly, but if I had to, I'd probably go with Anthony Hopkins. And then for Lily, I went Susan Sarandon.
Okay. Those are good. Those are really good.
And for 2023,
You're welcome.
and like we had mentioned before this started, we like to do it kind of based on age and stuff. So hopefully these track enough. So for 2023 for Frank, I did two for each of these because that's who I am. For Frank, I did Daniel Craig or Mark Ruffalo. And then for Mitch, and hopefully I'm pronouncing all these names right. For Mitch, I did Rami Malek or Jared Leto. And then for Lily, this is the one I figured I would probably maybe have the same one as you. For Lily, I did Lupita Nyong'o or Florence Pugh.
Nope. We didn't hit on any of ours. Interesting, right? Okay, let me go through mine. I like yours. I like your list. I think I went a little bit older in everything than you did. Except for Lily. I think I went I think I got somewhere in the age there. So for Frank, I put Denzel or Costner.
I almost did
Denzel. So Denzel Washington or Kevin Costner. Yeah. I feel like they fit that like good looking and older, and then also can still be athletic enough to be convincing.
See, I looked at Denzel for 93, honestly, but he was way too young. But so then that got me thinking, like, would he be way too old for 2023? And I think that's why I skipped him.
Because I think Eastwood was 60 in this, or
Was
like over 60
But his character
in
was supposed to be
this.
50.
Yeah, but they cast him anyway. And I was just like, because technically you're
Yeah.
supposed to be 55. 55 is the
that's
age of
right.
retirement for
That's
Secret
right.
Service agents.
Yeah. Duh. Yeah, I should have known
But
that.
I went a little bit older, and no, you're good. Yours were good. For Mitch, I basically chose 3 white guys that are like psychopaths all the time.
I know one of them
I
you had
put
to have
Jake
picked.
Gyllenhaal, Evan Peters, who is always playing a creepy person in all of the Ryan Murphy stuff, and then I picked Shia LaBeouf.
Oh, interesting. So I almost went with Jake Gyllenhaal. I did consider him. But I am surprised, and I cannot remember the guy's name. Who's the guy that played the main character on is it called what is that called? Split.
Oh,
yeah,
James
yeah.
McAvoy?
Yeah. I'm surprised you didn't pick him.
Yeah, no, that would have been a good one too. But I Shia LaBeouf came to me at last second. I was like, no, this could be really good for Shia LaBeouf. He would
That's a good one.
kind of knock this out of the park. And then I thought for Jake Gyllenhaal, if you've ever seen Nightcrawler,
Yep.
that character kind of reminds me of something like crazy that he could be convincing of. I added in Al, the recasting of Al for this, and I chose Clint Eastwood's son, Scott. Was like, that might be a good one. Scott Eastwood. He's only been in a few things here and there.
Yeah,
but
never heard.
he's the kind of the appropriate age. He's good looking. It might be a nice little send up for this to be like, hey, your dad was in this movie. So
yeah,
good for you. I really like, and think about this with the 2 people that I said for Frank's character of Denzel and Costner. I recast Lily. When I think of Renee Russo, she comes across as a very serious actor, or in these like kind of actiony movies. She's in Lethal Weapon, those kind of things. So I wanted somebody that was very like serious and could be taken seriously in that role. So I picked Zoe Saldana and Rosario
I almost
Dawson.
picked her. I did not almost pick Rosario, but I between Lupita and Zoe, I almost added a third, but I thought about it too. Those are really good choices. And Rosario, I don't know how I forgot about her. That's a good one too.
I just thought that they would be the most realistic, not only in the like role of a Secret Service agent, but also in the role of like having a relationship with an older person like Frank. So I went through some of those ones, and obviously Florence Pugh's actually a really good one because of like she has had a relationship with somebody that's like 30 years older than her or 20 years older than her. So that's a really good one too. So yeah, no, it's good. So I think I love this. I love doing these recasts. I think they're a lot of fun.
I think that's my favorite.
I'll sit there and just do recasts all day. Yeah, I think so too. So, all right. So now it's time for our fun facts. We've sprinkled in a few that we've been doing so far, but go ahead with your fun facts, and we'll see if I can cross any off my list.
I've just got 2 that we haven't hit on. We talked about Clint Eastwood selecting the director, but the ones we haven't hit on, one of them was just interesting for me personally. I mean, it's kind of a fun fact, I guess, but this is the first time I had seen this movie, but I had seen Olympus Has Fallen before, and Dylan McDermott was in that as kind of the sidekick Secret Service agent as well. And I was like, oh, wait, what? And when I started watching this, I was like, no way. And I had to look it up to make sure. But yeah, sure enough, it was him alongside Gerard Butler. I was like, wow, this is cool how those roles are similar. But I'm not going to spoil Olympus Has Fallen, but his character takes a much different trajectory. So There
Okay.
was that, and then
That guy.
also just John Malkovich doing John Malkovich things to prepare for his role. He lived in almost total seclusion for over a month prior to production to connect with Mitch Leary's sense of isolation. He didn't leave his house and wouldn't talk on the phone. Would rarely watch any television, and if he did, it was just news programs. So, talk about getting into characters. That's Malkovich for you.
Yeah, I like that. I only had two separate things from anything that I had the improvised scene with the gun in the mouth. One thing about that scene where John puts the gun in his mouth, I guess like whoever's holding the gun or whatever isn't Eastwood, because I think I read that Eastwood was on the side laughing when he did it. Like, so I thought that was kind of funny. Clint Eastwood is a proficient jazz pianist who did his own piano playing in the movie. So I thought that was pretty cool. Good for him. And then the final one I had is the real life Secret Service served as consultants for this movie. And this is the first time that the Secret Service had offered its full cooperation in the making of this movie. So some of the more boring scenes, and they're not boring, but like I feel like the ones that happen around like a table where they're all like planning out stuff, I felt like that was probably pretty accurate to how things in the Secret Service work. I also always forget that they deal with like counterfeiting stuff too, like that they have their own weird division of stuff that they're investigating as well. So I always forget that. So, all right. Now I'm going to come to my second favorite question that I like to ask with this. Even though on this movie, it's not particularly my favorite that I've done. I like to do this though. But movie pairing, if you could pair this movie with another movie for a double feature,
Well,
what would you choose?
hold on, I got
What?
You Ain't All That.
Oh, okay.
We've talked about it a little bit, but so I just thought Clint Eastwood's character was like came off way too creepy at times. Like all the winking has to stop, and
He does. Oh my God. I'm so glad that you said that.
dude, I know people like that, and like it feels like an older person thing. Like it's not even. I don't know. It's not like they're hitting on you. They just wink, and I don't know why, and it drives me insane. But he was doing that with Lily like far too much. So I would have definitely had that dynamic be different, because sometimes that made that character hard to root for. It was just creepy as hell.
The wink was the worst. He winks probably 10 times in this movie. And it's not like a wink.
Yeah.
It's that quick, it's a quick old man wink. And I feel like as I've gotten older, I've gotten better at that wink, and I hate it. I'm a 35-year-old that does the like easy wink. Ugh.
Jeez. Oh god. Okay, now
But you can only do that wink when you say something really ridiculous to like a waitress or something like that.
Dude.
You can only do it like
dude,
that.
I've been at family gatherings where like an older relative will say something and then do that to me. Like a joke, or like, yeah, say something funny or something, mess around, then wink at me, and I'm like, don't do that, please.
It wasn't it yeah, I'm not a big I don't hate the wink. I hate how much he does the wink in this movie. But I'm
Yeah.
with you.
Well, I
I'm
hate
glad you
the
called it out.
I hate the context of his winks too. It comes in like misogynistic statements. Like there's a time and place to wink.
Yeah.
Those weren't it.
There's a country song about all you got to do is just give me that wink.
Oh god. I don't think they're talking about the whispering eye here.
I think we should. All she's got to do is just give me that wink.
Oh, here we go.
All right, let's
DMCA
move
strike.
on. You got anything else for You Ain't All That?
Nope, that's all I have for You Ain't All That.
All right, let's move on to movie pairing. If you could pair this with another movie for a double feature, what would you choose? So, Spencer, what movie would you choose to pair with this?
I always struggle on just picking one, so I picked a few. We've already talked about two of them, and so I went with Olympus Has Fallen, just because I think it's fun to see Dylan. First of all, both are Secret Service movies. Second of all, you see, the 20-year time difference between Secret Service movies, so it's interesting to kind of compare. And then third, you see Dylan McDermott's character and how he's different from this to that. Second, I've got Being John Malkovich, as we talked about earlier, just to kind of, I feel like that would be a good double feature to get your Malkovich on. And then I've got another. So this one, this movie I thought was interesting in The Line of Fire, that you didn't really see the president hardly at all, if any. And so I put All the President's Men because it's kind of the same kind of fringe presidential movie where the focus isn't on the
Mhm.
president. So I thought that would be a good double feature as well.
Yeah.
And then I put JFK with Kevin
Okay.
Costner.
Okay. Yeah, I actually had JFK down as well. I actually watched JFK for the first time this past year. I think in last year when I was doing my 365 movies. Blown away by JFK. Love JFK. It's a great thriller. If it's all completely untrue, but it is a great thriller and just gives you that conspiracy theory and all this stuff about the Secret Service and the assassination of JFK. A really good watch. Oliver Stone's a insane person, but it's a really good watch. So I would definitely put that one up there. My other one, and the only reason I put this one on there, one, it contains a Secret Service scene about counterfeiting, but two, it has the dynamic. And I did like a search for all these movies because I was like, I know there's this specific kind of movie out there, but I searched for like cat and mouse, and more so like the cat and mouse having the conversations on the phones. And so when Frank and Mitch were having those conversations the whole time, all I could think of was Catch Me If You Can, Tom Hanks and Leonardo DiCaprio, running, or Leo constantly running from him and then calling up Tom Hanks's character and having this weird like friendship with him. So I think that would be a good double feature with this, just that cat and mouse phone conversation movies
That's
going on there.
That's a really good double feature, I think. And I know you don't want to, but I am just gonna throw this out there. I feel like if you like that cat and mouse, like primarily on the phone stuff, you would love Die Hard with a Vengeance. Just saying.
Nice. I'll never watch it, but thank you. I would probably watch Die Hard with a Vengeance or Die Hard 2 before I'd watch Die Hard 1. And again, for all those people out there, it's not a thing about Die Hard not being a good movie. I'm sure it's amazing. It is just now a personality trait that I've decided to take on and take to my grave. So I will never watch Die Hard. I've pretty much seen it. I can quote it. Give me a break, whatever. All right. Now let's go to rewatchability rating and your overall star rating. So sometimes these differ. Mine are the same this time.
Mine are not the same this time. I gave it a rewatchability rating of only 2. I thought it's good, but I don't know. I feel like this is a very you had to be in like a pretty specific mood, and like, I don't know. It's just not one that I would just sit back and rewatch over and over. I mean, and that's not to say I didn't enjoy the movie. I did, but I just think, I don't know. It's just not a rewatch one for me. It just doesn't fall in that category.
Yeah. Okay. I think
overall,
what'd you give it
I
overall?
gave it a 4.
Okay, nice. Now that you're talking about it, I agree with you. I think I'm gonna knock mine down to like a 2.5 on rewatchability. I had a 3.5 on rewatchability. I think I'm gonna go 2.5, and I kind of agree with you. It's not really one that I'm like, hey, I'm gonna pop in The Line of Fire, but if I were in a mood, if I were in a Malkovich mood and I wanted to see him just like knock it out of the park, I think that's when I'll go back to like rewatchability and be like, I want to see him do this performance and see him really kill it. But yeah, I agree with you. It's not really one that I'm just like clamoring to see again. But overall star rating, very close. I gave it a 3.5 out of 5.
I will say that if I was in the situation I am now, I'm 31 years old. I'm a dad. If I was in the same situation now as I was, back in uh early 2000s, cable TV, and this came on TV, I would rewatch it. But that's just kind of not the landscape
Yeah.
anymore. Now you're able to stream whatever you want, and it's different. But yeah, I think back then on cable TV, you see something like this on, you flip it on, you watch it.
I think once you start doing the wink, you'll probably appreciate this movie a lot more, and you'll want to watch
Oh
it. So
jeez,
I just look forward to that.
I'm not being that guy. It's not gonna happen.
It's not going to happen. Okay. Well, that's all we've got for today.
No, it's not.
And hope that everybody. Why?
Because I've got recommendations, especially.
You got to let me lead into it. I'm
in the
leading
doghouse.
into it. I'm going to. You're in the doghouse. No, I'm not that mad at you. Only a little bit mad at you. No. Okay. We're done with our categories. I'm done with everything else. I want to thank you for doing the categories with me. I want to thank you for watching the movie with me. I have it here. Thank guest, end on movie recommendations. So I'm thanking you. And now I know that you're not only watching movies like In the Line of Fire for this, but you're watching other things, whether it's TV shows or movies or anything like that. But now I want to give you an opportunity to give your movie recommendations of something that you've recently watched. You're usually watching something new and exciting, as I am. I've got a few here that I was going to talk to everybody about too before we sign off and tell the next movie.
Well, luckily, Joseph came in just at the right time, because I think I've got one of his favorites on here. So I've got two, and then I also started one just before the stream. I'm about 30 minutes into Suspiria, and it's good so far. But my two to recommend are Seven Psychopaths, unless I had already mentioned that last stream. I don't think I did. And then I hope I didn't mention
I don't
this
think you
last
did.
one either. But Seven Psychopaths, really good. It was way different than I expected it to be, which, I mean, it ended up being great. And then the second one just kind of blew my marbles, and that was 2001: A Space Odyssey. It was just visually, I don't know, it just shook me. It just got right in here, and I couldn't look away.
And that was the first time
very
you'd watched
first
it,
time.
right? I love that. I love that for you. How did you watch it? Did you watch it on big screen? Did you watch it on a phone? What did you watch it on?
No, I watched it on the big screen, and I don't even know if I had
Good.
intended on paying that much attention to it, but it locked me in, so I kind of had to.
That's good. No, that's good. I think Joseph, if he's still in here, yeah, that's one of his favorite movies, 2001. But I think they had a re-release of it within the last few years, and they showed it in theaters. It might have been in IMAX even, where he got to watch 2001. I think I might be talking out of school. I don't know, but I'm pretty sure that he got to do that, and I'm kind of jealous that he did get to do it. That would be an awesome movie to rewatch in theaters.
Yeah, that would be really fun to go see at like an IMAX or something, which I guess you could technically still do that if you went and rented out a theater. So
Yeah, you could still do that, but cool. Well, I'm glad that you got to watch those movies. I love Seven Psychopaths, Martin McDonagh, who's done In Bruges and Three Billboards and Banshees of Inisherin. I love Seven Psychopaths, and I feel like that's the one that everybody kind of like misses. Nobody talks about that one as much as the other ones that I listed. So glad you enjoyed it. I've got some newer movies that I've recently watched. And they're, obvious ones. So I saw Across the Spider-Verse, and it was amazing. It's probably one of the best movies of the year so far. So do highly recommend that. I will say it is an exhausting movie, and exhausting in a good way, but there is so much going on and so much story and visuals there that I was just like, when I got out of there, I was like, I'm ready for bed, I think. But yes, you with the hand raised.
oh yes, thank you, sir. So I saw where they re-released a better audio mixed version Did you see that? And what are your thoughts on it?
Yeah, I didn't really notice any audio issues with the one that I watched, so I don't know what anybody was, if I missed something or if there was something that I just couldn't overhear. But no, I never noticed any like music overpowering the dialogue or anything like that. So my
I just
version was good enough.
noticed a lot of people were pissed and saying like, "Oh, they're releasing patches for movies now. Like now I got to go re-see it." I was like, "Okay."
You don't have to. They probably got their money back, honestly, if they complain that much. Whatever. They can suck it. All right, the other two movies that I have to recommend, Evil Dead Rise, which I think Joseph had already seen this year. He might have recommended, but it's I think it's the 5th movie in that franchise. And kind of takes a different spin with it, but it is really good gross out movie. It pays homage to a couple horror directors in there. Sam Raimi definitely gets a homage in there. Stanley Kubrick from The Shining perspective gets a couple on, and there are some scenes in there where it's like you want to look away but you can't. So yeah,
I'm-
that one was really good.
I'm
And then
glad that
go ahead.
I'm just glad that that's finally out because during the whole like beginning of the NBA finals, I was trying to watch basketball with my son, and that commercial kept popping up, and I had to be like, "No, don't look," because it's scary.
It is a movie about family, and motherhood, and with an evil twist to it. So if you can't handle that kind of stuff, especially when it comes to like being a mother and all that stuff, and being a scary movie, I wouldn't recommend it to you. But if you love scary movies, you love gross out, some gore, but not like gore, the like gore porn or whatever that like franchise or that type of genre of movies are. This is over the top blood, like obviously, in the vein of a regular Evil Dead movie. The third final one I recently watched last night is a movie called Blackberry. It's a Canadian film about the BlackBerry company and the invention of the BlackBerry phone that a lot of people had in the early 2000s was super popular. This movie stars Jay Baruchel and Glenn Howerton of Always Sunny in Philadelphia fame, playing a much different character than Dennis from It's Always Sunny in Philadelphia, and those two just kill it in the acting department in this movie. And the way that it was filmed is like a documentary style, not with like talking heads and stuff, but it's kind of grainy, and they kind of introduce like it's just a really unique way. I really like the way that it was filmed, but really enjoyed that movie that I watched last night. So if you get a chance to watch that in the future, I think it'll be out on a streaming service soon, because I think IFC Films owns it and they stream on one of the big network ones. It might be Netflix, so that one might end up on Netflix later this year. But those are my 3 recommendations, and so I'll end on that. Again, I want to thank you, Spencer, for joining me and doing this with me. And we'll definitely get you on here in the next few weeks with something else. Maybe face your fears a little bit. We'll see. And but next week's movie is a family. We've got a stretch of family movies here, and next week's is another baseball film. We've already done Sandlot this year, but this week we're going to be doing Rookie of the Year, classic movie that we've probably all seen, but need to go back and rewatch. And if you want to watch that and follow along with the stream next week, you can do that. It is streaming on the Max application, formerly HBO Max application. It is streaming there now. So go check that out. Hopefully it stays there. The last time I said something was on Max, it disappeared 3 days later. So hopefully you all can get to it and watch that movie, and join us next week on 52/1993. You guys are all great. Spencer, you have anything left?
Nope.
Nope. He just shakes his head. He's doing this little Twitch thing across the street. Yep. Yep. All right, I'm getting out of here. This is getting ridiculous. Thank you all so much for being here, and we'll